say that the one thing video games can give you that nothing else in entertainment can is that feeling of pride.
Hello, Captain. How may I be of assistance?
Starfield is the next installment in the Bethesda games lineup, and it's easy to see how passionate the developers are about this game. They put a large focus on making an experience for the player, not just an RPG. Bethesda has pushed the boundaries of games for years with titles like Morrowind, Skyrim, Oblivion, all games that help game studios everywhere get the idea for what open world games were really about. Starfield takes place in, well, space. But it's not just a fictional universe. Actually, the game takes place just outside of the solar system, somewhere around 50 light years away, in what they are calling the settled systems. Our story takes place amid the stars during the colony war between the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective. Outside of that, not much is known about the game as a whole, and many fans are theorizing about what could happen in the newest Bethesda title. Not only when is it coming out in 2023, but also will ships be manually flyable? Will there be intelligent aliens? What will the combat be like? Will there be a settlement system like in Fallout 4? Is this tiny scratch actually Bethesda revealing Elder Scrolls 6 will take place in Hammerfall? No, but seriously, the amount of time that people have devoted to figuring out what this little tiny scratch is supposed to mean is impressive. What we do know comes directly from the developers for the most part. I searched through interviews, articles, and all of the Into the Starfield episodes frame by frame to provide you with as much information as possible. Today, let's talk about the game development, in-game factions, trailer Easter eggs, and more, and why it will impact how we experience the game here on Game Geek. For a good while, all we knew about the game came primarily from the short 1.5 minute cutscene showcasing the player entering their ship and preparing to launch. What most people didn't realize about that cutscene was it was made entirely with footage from the in-game engine. The camera angles were the only things that were cinematic, but nothing else was done to doctor the actual image. The Creation Engine 2, as it's called, was the only thing used to create the trailer footage, according to Keith Beltramini, a senior lighting artist for Bethesda. According to him, it wasn't pre-rendered and there weren't any cinematic tools used. We're using photogrammetry to scan all of these real-world assets and push our future tech for games to levels that we have not done before. This means the graphical potential for the game is massively improved from games like Skyrim, which was created with the OG Creation Engine. And while Skyrim was a massive improvement in its own right, we can be confident with the team that they aren't half-assing anything right from the get-go. In addition to creating a powerful engine just to see the game, the dev team really wanted to focus on immersion for this game and how the player feels during gameplay. In episode 2 of Into the Starfield, they talked about all new AI for both overworld and companion NPCs so that all the dialogue feels dynamic, fresh, and organic. Here's what was said.
Interactions with NPCs, other characters in the game, to be as impactful as possible. And for that, you have to believe these are real people. You're a real person interacting with real people.
In addition to that, they talked about a change they will make to the persuasion system in-game. Unlike in older Bethesda games like Morrowind or Oblivion, they wanted to make it more natural so the player can't always see the quote-unquote right answer, but rather have to infer based on what they know about the individual that they're interacting with.
It feels like you're having a conversation where you're actually trying to persuade somebody of something.
As I said before, the team talked several times in their short interview-style docuseries Into the Starfield about their intention to massively improve the NPC dialogue, again showing Bethesda's desire to step up their game with Starfield, but also drastically change how immersive the game is.
It's a level of immersion that we really focus on. You're not just playing a game, but you're living in this world, in this universe.
We primarily see just the main character in the reveal trailer, but there's actually some visual details that may have revealed other people inhabiting the ship, either in the past, present, or the potential for them as a feature for the future. First of all, we see Vasco, our friendly companion robot that will be journeying with us. There's an entire short video on Vasco where it is revealed that he is much older than he appears, showing signs of wear and tear, and that could influence at least a side quest or two in the game. He is fully capable and battle ready, but his primary focus is on aiding you, the player, in your adventure. He can also speak with the player and will presumably get the same AI overhaul treatment as other NPCs in the game. Bethesda emphasized the companions will be integral to the gameplay of Starfield. Itzvan Peely, art director for Bethesda, said this.
We've always allowed the player to create really interesting, unique characters. This game, we've definitely severely leveled up. The tech is based on scanning of real-world models, similar to the photogrammetry we do in our landscapes. We're kind of applying the same thing to our for people as well.
This is post-video Game Geek. As I was editing this part of the video, I realized that I continue to say Vasquez, even though it's very clearly Vasco. Don't know where that came from. The person that I got to read the part also says Vasquez because I'm an idiot and that's what I put in the script. So just forgive me, we'll be okay. As a side note, really quick before I get back into the video, I know that the notes could potentially just be written between you and Vasco, but it's a popular theory online. There's a little bit of evidence to explain how there might be others that could be joining you on the ship. But with that, I'll get back into the video. It's not entirely clear if our crew will be predetermined or not. In the trailer, we see different crew members leaving each other notes, one reading,
Vasquez, we're out of Tranquilita. Do not get decaf.
This implies, at least to me, that we will have some kind of crew on our Constellation starship. I think it would be fun to have some common NPCs to interact with, or maybe have the option to send them out on missions for resources like extra ammo or food. Plus, Bethesda has put a huge emphasis on NPC AI, so they might seem more realistic and less stale, like in previous titles like Morrowind or Skyrim. However, a darker, more morbid theory is that these are messages of past crewmates. They may have passed away on our adventures prior to the start of the game, and the protagonist left them up as a reminder of his fallen comrades as he travels solo through the silent cosmos. But swiftly moving on from that sobering and terrifying thought, and back to the friendly note to Vasquez, Tranquilita. It appears that Tranquilita is going to be the stand-in for Nuka-Cola from the Fallout franchise. Obviously, Bethesda loves incorporating the game's themes into its products, i.e. Nuka-Cola being a product in a game literally named after nuclear fallout. But Tranquilita is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. Tranquilita could just be a fancy name for tequila, even though it's likely a soda since the note specifically mentions decaf and not the strong stuff or 50 proof. But the inclusion of a name at the very least referencing an alcoholic beverage, not to mention the other half of the word probably relating to tranquilizers, could hint at a more adult tone than that of other games. It's no doubt games like Fallout 4 and Skyrim were directed at older audiences, but this could be Bethesda's subtle way of addressing their audience more directly. In addition to Tranquilita, there's another product on the market for Starfield citizens that will also be available. This stimulant, however, is a bit stronger, let's say. Aurora is a psychoactive drug that will be in circulation as we make our rounds amid the stars. If you've played other Bethesda games, you've definitely heard of the Elder Scrolls Skooma and Fallout's Jet, and you probably saw this coming. As to whether it will have the same effect as those drugs is yet to be revealed. Skooma in the Elder Scrolls series would boost strength, speed, and stamina recovery, while Jet in Fallout would slow down time for the user, increasing accuracy and let the player jump higher. Whether these effects will be carried over or Aurora will get totally new effects is yet to be seen, but this will definitely be included in some shady side quests along your way. Yes, faction systems are back in the new space opera Skyrim, and the dev team seems pretty interested in making it a big part of the player's unique story. In an interview with The Telegraph, Todd Howard talked about how they structured the faction system for the player. It's kind of like Skyrim in terms of the structure of the game, where you're going to be who you want to be, and there's different factions that you can join and really carve your own path. He also said this:
No matter what story we write, the one the players tell themselves is the one that they think about and love the most.
I have often spent so much time doing my own thing in Fallout before, I've completely forgotten what the main story was until I stumbled back into it between side quests. It's clear that they have put a lot of time, energy, and thought into making these factions as good as the Brotherhood of Steel or the Stormcloaks. But as far as that goes, here's what we know about the three main factions so far. First is the United Colonies. The United Space Republic is the lawful good of the Starfield factions. More of your for the good of mankind way of thinking. The United Colonies Space Republic is a glorified NASA and is the idealized version of unity, interstellar cooperation, and research. This group will be a powerhouse for the good guys, based in New Atlantis, their capital city. With the USR, you will probably be enlisted as part of their powerful organized military. They are in major conflict with the rebels of the story, the Freestar Collective. Not much is known about the conflict right now, but as far as we can tell, it will be the driving force for a large part of the game's narrative. Now, onto the other half of that conflict, the Freestar Collective. This faction is said to embody the space western fantasy, and will be filled with more free thinkers and do-it-yourselfers. No doubt, many of us will choose this faction in response to the open world freedom that Starfield will deliver when it finally releases. Space is the final frontier, after all.
Space, the final frontier.
And will most likely include galactic bounty hunters and industrialists alike. They are probably in the most need of your assistance, as they have to fight off the United Colonies' alien race called the Ashta, as well as staying hidden from the next major faction, the Crimson Fleet. This group is, in 2 words, space pirates. This group of outlaws is a major sore in the side of the United Colonies. Little is known about them right now, aside from that they are more wild and chaotic than the United Colonies, but yet still may be as organized as the Freestar Collective. These guys are a force to be reckoned with. The developers have already stated that you can join them or even act as an undercover space cop for the other factions. Plus, their concept art is just completely badass. I mean, come on. I'll join just for that set. Aside from the main three though, there are actually other factions, like your starting faction, Constellation. Constellation is where we'll start the game, and it seems to be kind of a neutral good, and is research focused. Another, Region Industries, is a tech-based faction, and Xenofresh Corporation, the fishermen turned Aurora manufacturers. Other factions include the cultist House Varun, the militant Ecliptic Mercenaries, and the Violent Spacers, which will warrant their own videos in the future when we learn more about them. Even with the main three and how much we know about them, it's clear that Bethesda has really fleshed out the histories of each of these groups and is going to try and give us the freedom to choose based on our personality and playstyle. Go Bethesda. By the way, let me know what faction you think you'll be a part of when the game finally releases down in the comments. Make sure to also launch your finger toward that like button, and if you want more updates on Starfield, make sure to crash land on the subscribe button. All of it is free and it helps out a ton. If you've ever had the chance to play older Bethesda titles, then you know that character creation is par for the course, and Todd Howard has even said that it's just becoming the standard to make characters as customizable as possible. One change to the Elder Scrolls series, however, was the removal of the trait system that really defined your character. For those of you that aren't aware of the system, essentially it was a way to specialize your character, giving them buffs right at the creation menu, at the cost of a few debuffs or balances, helping you focus on a particular playstyle. Into the Starfield Episode 2, Todd Howard said this.
A lot of us have been doing this for a long time together. And it's nice with Starfield to go back to some things we didn't do, the backgrounds, the traits, the defining your character, all of those stats.
The biggest benefit of this is the fact that bringing back these kind of systems can really mean big things for both immersion and replayability. Every time you start a new playthrough, you can really fine-tune your character, whether you want them to be more tanky, rock'em sock'em type, or a stealthy one-hit, one-kill player. It goes on to say that Bethesda is really thinking about the Elder Scrolls and Fallout fanbases, and how the feedback they've received has led them to believe that this is what we are ready for, a more in-depth character building and development cycle, and it will look a lot more like older RPGs that he and his team used to play while they were younger. He does mention though, while this game will have that older, more in-depth character customization, Bethesda is striving to make it fresh and new. How they will do that exactly, we may not know for sure until the full release. Regardless, it is exciting and I'm ready for it. The size of the game, its depth and detail, I think all contribute to its delay. Yes, it was originally shown in the trailer to release November 11th, 2022. Todd Howard even said before that this date was set in stone in the past, but as we all know, the game was delayed. It may not be as bad as we might think though. The dev team at Bethesda has made it very clear through the various Starfield journal episodes that they are taking the game very seriously and really want to step up in a big way when it comes to the newest release. Starfield is a game that has been over 25 years in the making, and waiting a little bit longer can't be the worst thing.
Hey there, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like and share with your friends and family, share on Facebook, Twitter, all the things, and we'll see you in the next one.